Performing live is a terrifying experience because you truly only get one shot to get it right. There is always that lingering fear that something will go wrong, and in the world of live theater, it often does. I once spent an entire scene trying to look completely natural while physically holding up a piece of the set that had collapsed mid-performance. I bring you stories like these every single day, diving into the lives of the legends who defined Hollywood's golden era. If you love this blend of vintage glamour and behind-the-scenes drama, please consider subscribing, liking this video, or leaving a comment. It helps the channel immensely and is totally free. Today, we are looking at a story that has recently shaken the foundations of Hollywood history. Elizabeth Montgomery's daughter has broken 3 decades of silence with a revelation that has changed how the world views her mother. She claimed her mother betrayed everyone, her husband, her father, and the pristine image she presented to the public. These words hit like a thunderclap because the world absolutely adored Elizabeth as the charming, nose-twitching witch on Bewitched. But beneath that famous smile was a reality filled with secrets. Elizabeth believed she could use the magic of her persona to mask the truth, but that eventually became her undoing. While the public saw a perfect star, her private life was fracturing under the weight of family distance and marital betrayal. Why did it take 30 years after her passing for this story to surface? Was it a lingering sense of fear, or perhaps a belief in the rumored curse that followed the show? To understand, we have to go back to 1951, when a young Elizabeth stood at the gates of the industry and vowed to create her own destiny, unaware that her path would lead to a heartbreaking family tragedy. The story begins in a freezing New York winter inside a red brick house where Elizabeth made a choice that would change her life forever. She enrolled in acting school against the strict orders of her father, the legendary and formidable Robert Montgomery. Robert was a pillar of the old guard, a man who valued control above all else. In their Beverly Hills home, life was a series of rigid rituals. Dinner was a cold, silent affair where Elizabeth was expected to be a flawless ornament. Robert despised the acting profession, famously claiming it was no place for a decent woman. He viewed actors as frauds and was determined to keep his daughter away from that world. However, Elizabeth's passion was already a burning fire. She had grown up fascinated by film sets, loving the hum of the cameras and the ability to transform into someone else. When she finally told her father she wanted to be an actress, his icy rejection cut her to the core. She didn't fight him then, but she made a silent vow to break through the doors he was trying to lock. She applied to school in secret and left a note for her father stating she was going to learn how to live for herself rather than to please him. Robert's reaction was one of pure fury, vowing she would regret ever using the Montgomery name. The house became a silent battlefield, yet ironically, it was Robert who gave her first break by casting her in his own television series as a gesture of peace. But when he saw her success, his pride turned to bitterness, and he demanded her name be erased from the credits. That night, Elizabeth promised herself that if her father wouldn't let her carry his name, she would make sure the world never forgot it. Elizabeth moved to a tiny Manhattan apartment, working odd jobs to survive while she studied her craft. Every role she took was an act of rebellion. Meanwhile, Robert continued to publicly disown her at Hollywood parties. Years later, even as she became a national icon, Robert could only offer backhanded compliments, insisting she would never truly escape his shadow. For Elizabeth, the price of that freedom was a permanent emotional scar. She found herself caught in a loop, subconsciously seeking out men who mirrored her father's controlling nature. Her first marriage to Frederick Gallatin was exactly what her father would have wanted: safe, wealthy, and proper. But Frederick wanted a trophy wife, not an actress, and Elizabeth realized she was fading away in that life. The marriage ended quickly, leaving her with the realization that love wasn't enough if it required her to abandon her dreams. She then moved to Los Angeles and fell for Gig Young, a man whose magnetic charm hid a dark struggle with alcohol and volatility. Their relationship was a storm of passion and pain, leaving Elizabeth emotionally battered. Then, in 1963, she met director William Asher. He was the first to truly see her talent, and together they created the cultural phenomenon of Bewitched. For a while, it was the happiest time of her life, but the old patterns returned. William became her director in every sense of the word, and as the show's success grew, their personal connection turned into a series of production schedules. The marriage eventually dissolved amidst rumors of affairs and mutual betrayal, leading to the end of the show in its 8th season. After the whirlwind of fame and failed romances, Elizabeth finally found a different kind of rhythm with Robert Foxworth. He didn't try to control or direct her. He simply stood by her. It was with him that she finally began to heal the wounds left by her father and her previous partners. She stepped away from the spotlight and focused on living a life that felt authentic. However, she always carried a sense of the spiritual. On the set of Bewitched, many believed she possessed a real kind of magic. She had a commanding presence that could shift the energy of a room without her saying a word. She was a perfectionist who ruled her set with quiet authority. Her relationship with co-star Dick York was initially filled with chemistry, but as his health declined, the atmosphere grew tense. When he was eventually replaced by Dick Sargent, many blamed Elizabeth for being cold, though she maintained that change was necessary for the show to survive. After the series ended, she largely retreated from the public eye, living a quiet life in Beverly Hills. When she was diagnosed with terminal cancer in 1995, she faced it with the same dignity she had shown throughout her career. She chose to spend her final days at home, surrounded by music and candlelight, finally finding the peace she had sought for so long. Elizabeth Montgomery's legacy is a complex tapestry of talent, rebellion, and a search for genuine love. 3 decades after her death, her daughter's revelations remind us that even the most magical public figures deal with deep human struggles. She was a woman who fought to be herself in a world that wanted her to be a character. She eventually found the strength to forgive her father and herself, proving that true magic lies in the courage to face one's own history. Her story continues to fascinate us because it is a reminder that behind the glamour and the special effects, there is a heart that knows both joy and pain. Elizabeth wasn't just a television witch. She was a woman who lived with fierce independence and left an indelible mark on Hollywood. We hope this deep dive into the life of Elizabeth Montgomery gave you a fresh perspective on the woman behind the magic. It is stories like these that remind us of the human side of our favorite legends. If you enjoyed this journey through Hollywood history, please give the video a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments. We love hearing your favorite memories of classic TV. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss one of our daily stories. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.